One of the things I've read that you said, and this probably comes out of your good Fordham Prep Jesuit background, was that great leaders have a kind of spiritual soundness. What do you mean by that?
Remember I said a little while ago when how did we figure it out? How did we figure it out at TD Ameritrade 8-9 years ago? And it was understanding who we were, what were our core competencies, what were we really about? Well, I think for individuals, that concept for me is spiritual soundness. We don't spend enough time really knowing and understanding who we are. And I'm talking about being dead honest with yourself. It's only you by yourself looking in a mirror. What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What do I care about? What don't I care about? What am I good at? What am I not good at? What do I like? What don't I like? Mm-hmm. If you really, truly understand that, and it doesn't necessarily have to be religious in nature, although it can be. If you really understand that, you start to know who you are. I think this takes time, and it does not happen overnight. And it takes incredible honesty with yourself and self-reflection. Most of the time, we're not as honest as we should be with ourselves, and we're not as self-reflective as I think we need to be. But the better you understand yourself, the greater you establish peace of mind. The better you establish peace of mind, usually the better decisions you make, and the more productive and happier you are in life. I think it's true with an individual. I think it's true in business. I think it's true in sports.
Joe, given your life and the pace of it, and I know now you're working to become a Division I football coach again, new chapter, we'll get to that in a second. How do you nurture an inner life? How do you keep your own self alive and on the beam, as it were? How do you
If you were talking to my loved ones now, I think they would say that this is an area that I don't do a great job at. And Sartre talks in his theories of existentialism and his existentialist philosophy how important it is to be happy in life, to be balanced.
Right.
I don't know if I've done a great job of that in my life. If I had my whole life to live over again, there might be a couple things that I would do differently, especially that thing at 19. But I think to have a better balance in your life is important. I'm out of shape now, but I do enjoy working out. I like to play golf. I like to read. I kid around. I wasn't kidding around, but when I was moving from CEO to chairman, I said I really wanted to be able to speak another language. I really wanted to learn how to play the piano. So far, I haven't made one little step in that direction. But I do think it's important to have those. Those are the things that I have.
One of the things that might be hard for our audience to understand listening to you today is, as a kid, you struggled with a lot of things, but one of them was stuttering. Tell me about it.
I have today, right now in front of you, the biggest concern I had before I walked in here was that God would somehow jump out and grab my larynx and I wasn't going to be able to talk. It's one of the single greatest fears I have in my life. I stuttered as a kid. So did my brother. And my brother stammered, so he'd go, but, if he wanted to say boy. I would find myself not being able to get boy out, and instead of stammering, I would just stop talking. So I'd go, and I knew I wasn't going to get it out, so instead of just stammering, I would just stop. And there'd be times I remember in school, I'd raise my hand, and sister would call on me, and I'd want to say boy, and I couldn't get it out, and I would just freeze. Then she'd yell at me for kind of fooling around, and I'm like, what am I trying to do? But what happened was, throughout grammar school, high school, and college, I wouldn't raise my hand for fear I wouldn't be able to speak. And then when I began coaching, when I was in college, I had to communicate. I had to teach my kids. I had to teach my players. So I would stand in front of a mirror, and I spent hours practicing a couple things. First, I think it actually, while my accent may not have improved, it helped my vocabulary because I would need to use different words that I could jump to. So if I got stuck in one word, I'd almost trick myself and jump to the other word. And then since I was teaching, I would enunciate. So if I were going to talk about the Great Depression, and I was just going to talk this way the entire class, that may not be entertaining or interesting to the kids, and I'm going to come across monotone. But if I'm doing it a little bit more like this, and you realize the steps that Hitler took when he tried to convince an entire nation that Germany was supposed to take over the entire world, A, it makes it sound a little bit more interesting, and B, the enunciation helped me get the words out. And it's still the biggest fear I have, probably, other than family safety, et cetera, I have in my life is that.
That's a great story. Actually, a very moving story. I wish we could bring you out of your shell. That's the thing I'm worried about. your shyness and your lack of energy is something that's clearly also stood in your way. So what's this thing about being a football coach again? Didn't you get that out of your system years ago? You were a winning coach. You wrote a book. You became an expert. You've had this career that most people would give anything for, and now you want to be back on the field coaching again. Why? What's that all about?
Yeah, in 2008, Roger, when we announced that I was going to move from CEO to chairman, I thought that was the right thing to do for TD Ameritrade, and I thought the timing was right. I'm not sure I was emotionally quite ready for it. I just thought it was the right decision for our firm. So when we made the announcement, I was a little worried that no one would know who I was anymore, or no one would care about me, or I'd never be able to get another job. But that didn't quite happen. I got a tremendous outpouring from Wall Street that, frankly, I was very touched by, and it helped me go, whew, I'm okay. I had some... we had 3 different networks talking to us about the possibility of our own show to really lay a foundation for education for our mission at TD Ameritrade. We wrote a book on investing because our mission was to bring financial literacy to every family in this country. And another book, all those things kind of came up. And then I was contacted by a group of alums from Yale that they're giving you the 5-minute hook.
That's okay. You can still.
Yeah.
We'll get to them.
I'm just helping out. I want to do my part.
That's right. It's okay, Joe. Yale.
That at the end of the 2008 season, there was a possibility the Yale job was going to open. Would I be interested? And the first thing out of my mouth was, I haven't coached football for over 20 years. And they said, we think we know what the skill sets are of a head college coach. We have no doubt you have those. We'd like you to think about it. And I spent the next 5 or 6 months really thinking about it. That's the whole concept of spiritual soundness and self-reflection. Right. And I found I didn't lose a second of sleep on any of the business opportunities, or the media opportunities, or anything else, but I couldn't get the football out of my mind. And what hit me when I started to analyze my life, the 2 things that that mattered to me the most as a coach and as a business person was the impact that I've had on others. And in football, there's nothing that has given me greater satisfaction in my life than helping 18 to 22-year-old boys become men. So that part touches my heart. I'm not a wild football fan. I don't watch a lot of football unless I have to as part of my job. But I do very much find the strategy, the science, the art, the structure of football intellectually stimulating. It's chess with human beings. So one part of it touches my heart, the other part touches my head. And when I think about what I might want to do next, shouldn't I be doing something that I really, really have a passion to do that I think I could be really good at? And that's why my goal is to go back to coaching.
Wow.